Welcome to another edition of the Caregivers Network podcast, the place where family and caregivers come to learn together, grow, and get supported. I'm Reggie Cunningham,
And I'm Marlon Phillips.
and each week we explore personal experiences to help us navigate and deal with the challenges of caregiving with confidence.
And whether you're supporting a loved one or working on the front lines, we stand with you. And today our guest is Austen Cunningham. So Austen, why
Hello.
don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi. As intro, my name is Austen. I am a project manager currently. I have worked in the field field service engineer, and I grew up with my older sister Artesia, who is mentally handicapped with its own struggles. I don't know.
All right, we're going to have to correct you a little bit now. So, it's no longer politically correct to say mentally handicapped.
No.
She is autistic and is developmentally delayed. All right. And today's edition is a special edition for me because Austin is my son. And we're going to explore his challenges and observation of being a younger sibling to his sister who has some special challenges.
Special needs, I guess, would be the correct
It
affirmation.
might be whatever. So, Austin, man, I'm gonna give you the floor. You tell us what you felt growing up being the responsible sibling because your sister wasn't able to.
Um, it has challenges. It taught me a lot of patience. That'll start with a
Absolutely.
positive. Taught a lot of patience, especially in the regard of having a sibling that at no point would be able to take care of herself. Artesia is very capable in her own right. She can move. She can, she'll go make her ramen if she wants to, but she would never truly be able to be without like long supervision. And growing up, it was someone always had to watch her. Like you guys didn't want Artesia to be in the house for more than 5 minutes by herself, which in that aspect was very straining for me. Because with both you and mom working all the time and me being home with Artesia, that put restraints on if I wanted to go out with friends. Couldn't do that. Couldn't be far away, even if it meant like, all right, cool, I want to go to the grocery store that is, a 10-minute walk. It turns into a 30-minute walk with Artesia, or I'm not supposed to go to the grocery store real quick and grab something that I want real quick. It had its own challenges, but there were also perks that came with it, like going to Disney World twice. I think we met Serena and Venus Williams because of Artesia back when we were at Memorial Children's Hospital or whatnot in Chicago.
I don't remember that one. That might have been when I was down here and you guys up in Chicago. I remember you meeting President Obama when he was a senator up there. So I missed all of that.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I was talking about that with someone, another coworker from Chicago. She met Obama back in the day. So there were some fun little perks, but then there's like the annoyed stuff. Like her school bus gets home before mine, but also picks her up afterwards. So it always felt like I was getting the short end of the stick. Or cool, once I was able to start driving, well, it's under the guise that I have to be able to drop a teaser off, which was fine, but it had a lot of frustrations because they put a lot of restraints on.
So let me ask you this, Austin. So how did you, outside of your mom and dad, so how did you manage that? How did you manage those feelings and the responsibility that, collectively you guys had as a family, but as you've mentioned, sometimes you had to do things on your own. So how'd you manage that?
Well, I would say in part, like my best friend growing up, Anthony, who lived across the street, we had our workarounds. I can't leave the house. So what we do is we sit on the porch and me and him would just chat, or be in the backyard where Akita is just a shot away. Um, and to just kind of make up for that, and like whenever mom or dad would get home first, they would let me go out and hang out with them. It just there were going to be times where Archijo would take most priority, but as I got older, especially once we moved to Memphis, my parents were accommodating in the sense like I picked up the saxophone. I got in the band. They found programs for me to participate in once there was a better schedule and the teacher was a little bit older and I was a bit older. It wasn't always great. There were times the teacher had to come to band practice with me, and I thought that was super embarrassing because she don't know how to be quiet.
So I'm sorry for interrupting, but let me just ask you a question because that was going to be my next question. How did you feel, or how did you accept the fact that sometimes, like you said, it was a little embarrassing? And how did you deal with people that cast that kind of shadow on you because she's your sister with special needs? I listened to what you said about being embarrassing. So what was that like, and how did you get through it?
It's kind of rolling because I'll say this: a teacher was very popular in high school. So and like I'm sure Dad's heard plenty of times like, oh, she's just so nice, she great. I was like, yeah, but you don't live with her, So in that regard, it felt like a very normal sibling thing where your other sibling does something that embarrassing. And now they're fine. It's like, nah, this stuff is annoying. Like you don't live with it.
Right.
That's how I kind of dealt with it. Because I would say, I was especially once we were in the South, people were a lot nicer and more accommodating. Maybe that's because of the programs or everything. I remember a time I got in a fight with a kid in Chicago because he made fun of our teacher.
I hear
you.
So you're saying the difference between North and the South, people in the South were very more accommodating and just appreciated how you took care of her versus Chicago?
I would say so. Especially like again, Anthony's family, they were always so helpful with if like a teacher would get home on the bus before me, our neighbor would watch her teacher until we got home. Or until I got home to pick her up or stuff like that. And maybe because like we were younger, would have been in elementary school, I guess, at that time, and it was a kid trying to be a bully to a lot of other kids. And I think a teacher came to the school at one point. Family comes to the school at some point, so he tried to hone in on that, and that was the thing that got me to fight him back. But even in that regard, it was just a kid versus like our teachers. How they had like a zero tolerance fighting thing. They knew was what he was doing. He was going around making fun of my sister, and he would bop him on the head. Like, no, we're not doing none of that. So, and anytime he would catch him, he would be on him, make him sweat because he was a gym teacher. He put him through the ringer anytime he catch him doing stuff like that. And like he had an older brother that was my age, and his older brother was great. And the kid got beat up again by somebody else because he was running his mouth. And his older brother's like, he ran his mouth. So I wouldn't even say it's complete 180 because the BAT did not go to the same school in Chicago. But when we were in the South, we both went to the same middle.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah, she was on the other side of town, right, Dad? Something like that.
Yeah. You went to school in the neighborhood, and she was like at least 5 miles away or whatever. So, but just to give you a little idea about Artesia was always very friendly, and for whatever reason, she would gravitate to people and just put a smile on her face. That was her personality. But she was also very shy until she came down to Tennessee, right? And that's when she got into inclusion classes. And there were three girls in particular, she was in eighth grade at the time, that took her under their wing. And that's when she started coming out of her shell. Uh, I can tell you stories about Artesia. She always loved to sing. Can't carry a tune, but she always loved to sing at the top of her lungs. And when she was younger, she used to get up like 6 o'clock in the morning, singing as loud as she possibly can. More annoying than I could ever explain to you. And because Austen had to take on some of those responsibilities of being the parent, if you will, or the older sibling, even though she reminds him that he's the little brother, we tried to make sure that Austin had some time that he could do some things by himself. So when he got into
Mhm.
band, we made sure that when they went on band trips, he went on every band trip, and we just
Mhm.
dealt with what we needed to do for Artesia while he was gone. So that was kind of a special thing for him. That's how he ended up going to Disney World twice, once with the band and once for Artesia's 18th birthday.
Oh,
And
wow.
they
Yeah.
used to fight like brothers and sisters do. But the one time that he really loved his sister was when we went to Disney World. And because we got a wheelchair for her, like you said, it would take a long time to get anywhere. He
Yeah.
got
The
to get the
wheelchair.
express pass because he could
Yeah.
wheel around in his chair and go to the front of the line immediately, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna get
They
something
got rid of
down
that
there.
perk.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that.
They got rid of that perk because of people like me. I was like, I'm going straight to the front.
But I hear
But you
you.
had a legitimate excuse though. So anyway, but that was
Yeah.
it.
So
I hear you.
it's like even when we were in Chicago, I used to do wrestling because I was really big into wrestling. And you and me used to do martial arts during the week. So it wasn't all like I didn't get to have time, but it came at a later date because like a teacher needs to be watched. So while she's at camp, mom and dad are working or picking her up. So I don't have anything to do until it'll be like 6, 7 o'clock. Uh I didn't realize we had like abnormal dinner times until I guess we moved to the south, and I would always go over to Anthony's, and they'd be eating dinner, and like you always come over at dinner time. It's like dinner's not till like 9 o'clock. What are you talking about? It's like it's six
It's a
o'clock.
snack.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, cool. I guess I'll eat. um,
Yeah.
but I still got to enjoy. It was just more limited in that regard. But mom and dad always try to get me into something, even stuff I didn't want to be in, like marching band. They
Yeah.
still wanted me to have activities outside of just being a Jesus caregiver or just being at the house.
Well, shoot, we
Yeah.
were paying that money for the saxophone. You might as well do something with it.
Get some time out of that bad boy for sure. For sure.
Yeah, and he
So
got to
now what's
be.
it like being
Please.
away from your dad and your sister now that you're out and finished college and
I would say like it was I remember dad had this conversation um, when I was looking into college and stuff because and I'm sure you and mom both knew immediately or realized like I had no desire to stay in Memphis. Like I didn't want to go to University of Memphis. Wasn't really wanting to go to the colleges in Tennessee as far as I could tell. I toured Memphis and stuff like that, but I didn't have a desire to be there. But I was heavily considering it. Or trying to figure out how to make this work because I had been a part of the Jesus caregiving for so long that I was trying to figure out like how will mom and dad do without me. And dad was like, no, you need to go where you need to go. We will figure it out, and which was a very freeing part for me. Because as dad knows, I've hopped around, I've moved, I ain't got no problem going anywhere. If I don't like it there, I'll go there. So I was always planning to go away for college. It just depended on how far. But like that was hard for me because I didn't want to feel like I was I don't know, not abandoning the family, but like it felt like I was contributing to an extra burden because I was leaving. Because I know that
Mhm.
me being home helps out a lot. Um, but once I left, it was fine. It was freeing because it allowed me to, I guess, reclaim some parts of childhood. I guess going off on my own and doing dumb stuff with friends without having to always like be worried about a teacher or something like that, you know.
Right.
And even when mom got sick, I talked to dad and offered up to come back home, find a way back home. And after she passed, with my last job, I told them that I was moving. They didn't care. Actually, I'm sure they would have been. They didn't care where I was going. I'm sure they would have been happy for me to be in Memphis because FedEx was one of their biggest customers. And Dad said, "No, you still need to go. You're growing. You need to find your own way in this
Mm-hmm.
world
Wow.
so that you're set up for one day when you will have to take care of a teacher.
Yeah.
But you need to grow and live your life. I will figure that out." And that part was hard, especially after losing mom, because I felt like I should be home, but I also knew I don't like living in Memphis. So, and I had just spent I think 2.5 years in Michigan, and I did not like living in Michigan, and I was trying to find a place that made me happy again, and I found that in Houston. So
Okay.
and I like it was nice with my last job. I got to go home. I was flown home. I think every other week for like a few months, a couple times. But now with a corporate job, I sit at a desk. I don't get to come home as much as I would like. Um, it's it's a 9 hour drive. It's an hour and a half flight, but flights ain't cheap. Gas ain't cheap.
No, I hear you. I hear
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
So I wish it would be closer, like if I was a few hours away, so I can pop in on a weekend. In that regard, it feels hard um, to not be near Dad and Artesia. Um, but Artesia doesn't let me
So,
forget about her.
so the other thing I would ask is that, as a single man pursuant to you getting married, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Engagement. Um, your dad and I, we've talked a lot about, caregiving and having a good significant other, and how that makes a difference. So I was just be interested, not to get personal, but your conversation with your fiance and having her understand, the dynamics of your sister and, knowing that possibly one day, you're going to have to be your caregiver. What's that conversation been like, or how does she feel? How did you explain it? I mean,
Because like the process, because like Javen is a very caring person by nature, and in her own regards, she was a also a sick child for a very long time in a
hey, she
wheelchair.
had to be sick to go out with you and marry you.
She's
I'm
sick for
sorry.
marrying,
I'm sorry. That's from my old Christmas visit to the house. I'm sorry.
but so she understands the struggle of not being a fully healthy child and whatnot. And goes like even like she got me to go into open houses because she likes doing that. And even then, she was planning our future together to also accommodate our Artesia,
Oh wow.
and which is very I was very appreciative. But at this point, she had also not been with a teacher.
Hmm.
Or had met her, and like Artesia is very different from like meeting her in like family settings. Like Dad says, she will go up and say hi, but when it came to family, she's always so shy or a lot quieter, and she's very entertaining in small bursts. But like uh we sat down and I was like I wanted her to come home with me for I think we stayed in Memphis for a week. So that she could see all aspects of Artesia.
Hmm.
The good, bad, and ugly. And that was very much an eye opener for her. And she realizes like she couldn't be a 24-hour caregiver.
I can't be a
And I
24-hour caregiver. Shoot.
yeah, and I think realistically, what would be best for Achija uh is to have like a system like where she gets like she goes to camp, where people are able to take care of her or something. As much as Achija kicks us out the house, I think she'd be happy to live to live with a group of friends that half the time. Um, but that was also an eye opener because like there's gonna be I know what I'm used to. Like Achija will scream her head off when she's upset at the top of her lungs. I know how to tune it out. Like I'm unfazed by it, but that's also because that's how I grew up to be unfazed by it.
Right.
But for her coming into this, it's a lot more stressful because how do you get someone to calm down? That how do you get someone to? It's like a baby that will never stop crying at one point. You know, you can't always go with the bribes. You know, if she does something she knows she's not supposed to do, you can't just give in because she'll go ahead and do it again. So that was very much an eye opener, but she didn't run away, but she had an honest conversation with me about it. And I was like, no, I understand. Like everything I'm trying to do now is to set up a solid foundation so that that we're taken care of. And then also anything a teacher needs along with dad and what mom has set up will be taken care of. Whether that might be a nurse or she used to have there was like a college program at U of M where they had people come and hang out with her, take her out and stuff like that, so that there's space, or whatever. If there's a living situation where it's more, she likes routine.
Definitely.
The biggest thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if she has a living situation where there's a routine with other people with disabilities in a facility, because I agree with Dad on the camp stuff. I don't want her just sitting around watching TV all day. She likes doing stuff. She likes school. So if there is something that is geared towards that, I think that would be good for her. But that costs money. So I just got to get rich or win the lottery. So we're working on it. But and also, we live in a day and age. I think you can probably attest to this more. That there's a lot more programs for people like our teacher now. I don't feel like there was a lot of options growing up. And maybe because I was young and I wasn't paying that much attention, but it definitely felt like going from Chicago to Memphis. Our teacher had a lot more options in programs.
I don't know about,
or maybe it's the school.
I think in Chicago there's probably more options. We may not have been aware of all of them, but I think the one difference is that coming here to Tennessee, to Memphis, she got exposed to more things because she was put in an inclusive class as opposed to separated classes for special needs children. So she was in classes with every normal kid, and then she would go out to her special classes when she need to. And that changed a little bit when she got to high school, but they were in a setting where they were always around, the regular kids.
Oh, wow.
And
Interesting.
that helped bring her out of her shell a lot. And sometimes it's scary because Artesia, when she is okay, is one of the friendliest people you ever know.
Oh,
To
yeah.
this day, if she's going out to get the mail, she's waving at everybody, that comes down. She doesn't know who in the world is in the car coming down the street, but she's waving at everybody. And, she, walking in the mall or walking in the grocery store, she'll talk to everybody, hi, and stuff like that. And so people just naturally gravitate to smiling at Artesia. And, you can only imagine in this day and age, as a father, not how difficult it is, but how scary it can be knowing how crazy some people are out there that
Yeah,
will take
absolutely.
advantage of someone like her. So, you know, I was always overprotective, because coming from Chicago, that was just my background. I'm going to watch out. And if somebody hurt my little girl, I knew I was going to catch a case. It was
Yeah.
just that simple.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Austin, tell me, what did you find the most difficult thing about growing up in this situation where you had to be a caregiver for your older sister?
I think in a lot of regards that it definitely forced me to grow up a lot faster. Um, like you guys, I would say I don't know if it gave me a lot of leeway or freedom. Like once I was once we got to Memphis, but I wake up in the morning in Chicago. you and mom are both already gone, usually with Atija, where she go to the bus, you take her to the bus stop. Y'all are usually gone. Like at a certain point, like I would wake up, get ready on my own, go walk to school, come home, be in charge of doing my own homework and stuff. Uh, and y'all would get home. And so I would see y'all maybe like for a few hours a day, uh, Monday through Friday usually, because Archija had to go to camp and she had to take the bus to go to camp. But there
Wow.
was no immediate program for me in the area because I just walked to school. Um, I don't know if Paderewski had anything, and I wasn't good enough a singer to be in choir. So, and when I went to St. Gregory, so in that regard, I kind of became really independent. Uh, and when we moved to Memphis, it kind of got that became that as well, where you guys kind of gotta let me lead. We have free range for the most part, but also I think it's because you do. I wasn't out there doing crazy stuff with my friends, or they'd be doing the stuff, and then I just would be uh fine because like in the back of my head, I was like, I can't go and do these dumb things because you know uh you have a lot more freedom and lead away. There's a backup plan for you getting in trouble and X, Y, and Z. But I know if for whatever reason, if I got in trouble with the cops, uh, whether it was like right or wrong, that creates a bigger issue for my parents, and it's already a constraint on where we're at now.
So Austin, that's called moral compass. Your parents instilled moral compass in you so that before you would do something, now let me think about how this is going to affect my family, my mother and father before I do this. So there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with having moral compass and honest thinking. As your grandmother would say, Mama Annie said, if you think about it and it says no, that means don't do it. You shouldn't even have a second thought. It shouldn't be that difficult not to do something as it is to.
All I can say is welcome to the club because both your cousin Marlon and I both went through it. Trust me.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I gotta say, you watching over your sister, yes, it did force you to grow up, but it also made you more responsible, more mature. And that's why we can give you the leeway because we knew you weren't going to do something stupid. Like Marlon and I both know a lot of kids that we went away to college together. And they just did some stupid stuff in
Stupid stuff.
college. And I couldn't see how they would do it. It didn't make sense. I could not, I know personally, I could not call home and tell my father, can you bail me out of jail? It wasn't
No,
going to happen.
no, no.
It
I
wasn't
better
going to
figure out a
happen. So
way.
I knew you weren't going to do stuff like that because of where you came from. And I also instilled into you the same thing that was instilled in me.
Right.
If you go to jail, you're staying there because I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
bailing you out.
That I think that was just a Midwest OG thing because that was my father's philosophy. If you go to jail, get caught in
Yep.
jail, don't call me. So okay, I'll call mom then.
Mom ain't gonna let me sit.
But don't call me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well,
But
you
but but
tested that
but
theory
but
one time only. So
well, but the other thing too is that how can I put this? When you didn't call your dad and then called your mom, and mom came and resolved the matter, when you got home, the first thing your dad is, well, how come you didn't call me? Why you call your mother, didn't call me? Well, dad, you told me not to call you. That's when you learn how to read your father and your moral compass kicks in moving forward.
I was like, even to that point, because I was having this conversation with coworkers because they were asking about their kids and stuff. Like, even mom and dad always made it clear, even if I did end up in jail, but like, they've always made a point to remind me, like, no matter how bad a situation is, you can always call. You can deal with the consequences later,
Yeah.
but we rather
Yeah.
you be safe. And that's always been back in my head. Like, now, granted, I've never been in a situation I couldn't get out of, thankfully, but I also don't like to put myself in situations like that
No.
either.
No. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, that's part of the caregiving that we're discussing here. You have to have some type of character and internal fortitude to want to do the right thing in order to be a good caregiver. So out of that,
Mhm.
you become uh, aware of your circumstances, your situation, and more importantly, that there's somebody else that's relying on you. If something happens to you, then what's going to happen? What's the cascading effect? I used to tell my son Mateo, son, it's cascading consequences. So you need to think about that before you execute whatever the plan is going to be.
And
So yeah.
that's interesting because I used to always tell Austin that no matter what you do, there are consequences. They're going to be either
Yes.
good consequences
Not
or
just
bad
bad
consequences. The
consequences.
choice
Yeah.
is yours.
Yeah.
No, so
I think that's the era we grew up in too.
Yeah, it's definitely a changing world. And I used to tell my friends growing up, it's like your life ain't your life. What you do affects your parents, what affects your
Yeah.
anyone that loves you, hates you,
Yeah.
whatever. It's not just your own in that respect. If you could run off and do something like really dumb or crazy, but you don't think
The
your mom and dad are
consequences.
gonna be upset by that. It doesn't hurt them.
Right.
Uh, and I've always had the perspective of, well, screw it, I don't care.
Mhm.
I like worst case scenario, like, all right, if I okay, mom and dad not gonna be home for a couple hours, they won't know that I'm not at the house for an hour or two, just playing across the street playing video games.
Mhm.
But paranoia is like, but what if something happened? And
That's
something did
right.
happen one time. We had a house fire when I was home for the holidays, when I came home for college.
yep.
You know, had I like, yeah, all right, cool, Ajija, I'll be back in like 5 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
Uh, Granted, I do think she would have left the house. She has that wherewithal. She would have been scared, but I think she would have left the house. But
But
like,
the point is the consequences would have been gravely different.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like first thought when the fire happened, I went shock. I was in shock. I was like, I need to put this out. Uh, Realized we ain't got no fire extinguisher. I'm like, how do I do this? Because it was going crazy. And for the only time, probably in ever history, has a teacher ever been quiet. And then she finally made a peep after like the 30 minutes. She's been quiet for a minute. And usually she's singing and doing it. She made it sound like, gotta get a teacher out of here.
Get me
And
out of here. That's what she was.
she the only time she's ever been quiet.
I hear you.
Usually she's doing something to annoy me, but she had been quiet for like 30 minutes.
It's kind of like, people have a sense of uh, something's not quite right here. It's like animals when there's a tsunami or earthquake, God just sends them the wherewithal. I don't know how to communicate. Same thing with a teacher. She just sensed that something was wrong here. I don't know how to explain it, but something inside. And I always say it's God. Yeah, you look at these tsunamis and the elephants are always the first ones that break towards the mountains. Okay.
Mm,
We don't know what's going to happen, but whatever it is, we need to get our clan and get to a safe place and a safe haven.
mm,
So kind of maybe divine intervention. She felt like, okay, you here now. What are we going to do? Because you got to get
mm.
me out of here. I don't know
Oh,
what to say, so I just won't say
yeah.
anything.
I wish she could move faster. But I think it was like it was January, so it was cold, and I didn't want her running outside barefoot. But I was like, the house is on fire, but I need you to put some shoes on.
Yeah,
So
no, but there you go. You're thinking the right way, and that's kind of like how we came to this caregiving situation, and that's why we're talking about it. You have to have the right mindset, but also have a humanitarian heart to take care of your loved ones and stuff like that.
And with that, you don't get a manual to learn how
No.
to raise kids, and you definitely don't get a manual to raising, a child with special needs or growing up
Hmm.
with a sibling with special needs. So you do the best you can.
Yeah.
Saying that, we did the best we could, but Austin, tell me, what do you think could have been done that would have been better?
um, I think, and I feel like it's a lot harder in Chicago than it was in Memphis. I think what helped a lot was having like the Daniels and having like community, other people able to tap in. Um, like having neighbors that would be that see a cheetah, interact with a cheetah. I think community so that you can have that breather.
Mhm.
Granted, I know cheetah was in camp a lot in Chicago, and everything, but like in Chicago, the environment of I can go out and hang out in the streets in Chicago. A cheetah shouldn't be doing that, but in Bartlett, if a teacher really wanted to, she could walk around the neighborhood and people would wave, interact with her, and she would be fine. Uh, like I think when we had that fire, the first question from everybody was about Artesia. Um, like the from the neighbors, like your sister was like, "No, I got her out. She's across the street." That even that being able to take a teacher from the fire, I went straight across the street to the Daniels house, and I knocked open their door and put a teacher inside. Their whole family is there. It's like house is on fire, gotta go. And Miss Tanya washed her teacher, and Mr. Tim followed me out the door back to the
Yeah,
house,
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that. Having other people there, because at that point, dad and mom were both at work, and there's no direct line for mom. And I didn't know once you dial 911 on your phone, it kind of locks it up for a second. So it
Oh,
was a very
really?
high stakes moment, but having that community there to also help when we may not be around, or if something did happen to me, uh, for whatever reason, I'm able to get a
Mhm.
teacher out. She just like go to the Daniels. She'll go to the Daniels. She can go talk to these people and reach out. Versus in Chicago, I and maybe you would know more than me that if there was any neighbors a teacher would be comfortable walking down to talk to if she needed help or anything, because she has to feel comfortable with the people to do something.
Mhm.
I think it would have been harder, a lot harder in Chicago for her to get out of the house and then go down the street. And at that point where we were living, I didn't have any really close friends. One of the
Mhm.
saving graces is that, Austin was talking about the Daniels. I worked with Tim Daniels. As a matter of fact, he's the one that called me about the fire. And I
Mhm.
didn't believe him
No,
at first
no, I
because
called you about the fire.
I'm sorry.
I called you about the fire.
I remember talking to Tim. I may have talked to you afterward, but he's the first one that called me, and I didn't believe him because he was always joking. He was always cracking a
Wow.
joke, and I didn't believe him. And he said, "No, I'm serious." And I mean, oh, okay. And so I stopped whatever I was doing and headed home.
You forgot the conversation you had with me, because when I called you, I said the house is on fire. You said what? You had the tone like somehow this was my fault, and I said,
It probably was.
and then and then I said it's you're like what? Like you're like you're not gonna jump down my throat, but you're like what's going on? Like so I did. I was like it came from your room, and you're like what? I was like okay, cool. That's
All
I
righty, let's
remember
keep
what
it moving.
All right. But no, but a proud thing, he did exactly what he was supposed to do, get Artesia and him out of the house.
Right.
At that point, the house doesn't matter as long as you two are okay. That was the most important thing. So,
You got
uh,
to remodel. You know what's the point of paying
hey,
for
you
insurance?
know,
You know,
there's a silver lining in everything. All you have to
In
do is
every
look for
clown.
it. You know. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, and you
so,
didn't have to live through any of that because you went back to school.
yep.
Uh,
I slept on a pull-out couch for 2 weeks. Went back to college. So I was home for the holidays. I did what I was supposed to do. You know, it was. I remember that day so vividly. it
well,
was a very. It was
yeah,
a.
that's
It was
that's a
very
defining
special.
moment. You're going to remember that, but that goes to show that there's a reason why you don't leave, people alone like that because
Yeah,
you never know what could happen. And you, I, if I teach you been at home alone and something like that happened,
it could have been
I
going a whole
don't,
different
yeah, I
direction.
don't know if she could have got out of the house that way. I
Right.
think I remember Austin saying that she didn't want to leave the house when he was trying to drag her out of the house. And, that concerns me, even though physically she knows not to put herself in danger, or if something's hot, she'll move away from it or something like that. But still, the blessing is Austin was home, and everybody was taken care of and you
Yeah,
didn't worry about
that's
anything.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
so,
Wow.
but I was, like I said, I don't know. I ever get an answer as to what you think could have been better growing up?
I think like just more sense of community, more
More community.
um is what I would say. Because like you can't do it all. Being
Right.
a 24-hour caregiver, it's like going. It's like you be a 24-hour employee? Can you need a break? And
Yeah.
sometimes even going on vacation with Artesia, it's its own job in its own sense. Sometimes you want to be away from Artesia, and there's nothing wrong with that. Which is, uh, I feel like a lot of people struggle with because it kind of feels guilty to want to get away, but you need a break, whether it's take a weekend trip somewhere or, cool. Like when I would watch a Cheecham, I think so there were a couple times where y'all were out of town or whatever. Like, all right, cool. Once the Cheetah's down for bed and stuff, me and Anthony go hang out and stuff like that at his house or something like that. Uh, you know, to get a break, because I've been with a teacher all day. I think when mom's uh, brother passed, I came home from college to watch the teacher for the weekend so y'all could fly out to California, and my teachers were very accommodating. They understood the situation. I explained it to them. I had my schoolwork, I got my breaks and stuff like that. But then, once I was done taking care of teacher for the day, I would go hang out with my friends for a little bit because I needed that break. It's because being in the house wasn't a break. Didn't matter if I could watch my shows or play my video games. It's it's still very enclosed because you don't always get to do what you want to do. You can't take a teacher to go see Sinners, but I think Sinners is a movie that everyone should have saw in theaters. So you have to, but being able to have someone like, hey, can you watch a teacher for a couple hours? I want to go see this movie in theaters. That in its own right is a break.
Mhm.
Uh, from everything because we can only watch so many Disney movies.
No, but to your point, everybody needs a break. I
Yeah.
had my mom here with me for 6.5 years, and we had a nurse and all of that. But sometimes you just need a change in the environment that you're in, just to get away and recharge and then come back. Because one thing's for sure, some circumstances and situations are not going to change.
Mm.
And you just have to get yourself prepared. And, your dad and I, we often talk about, if you don't get a break, who's going to take care of the caregiver if the caregiver gets sick? So that's always in the back of your mind that you got to take care of yourself and get a break because you have other people depending and relying on you. But, you know, plan B is what happens. Something happens to me. My mother used to ask that all the time. Son, what's going to happen to me if something happened to you? I was like, listen, don't worry about that. We got that covered. Okay. But stop
Mm-hmm.
stressing me out.
So,
And I'm
Yeah.
getting a lot more grades now. To be
Yeah.
stressed out all the time.
oh,
Everyone
well,
needs a break.
yeah,
And
yeah. And so, there's no reason to feel guilty about that because we're all human. We can
Yeah.
only take so much, and we just need a little bit of a rest once in a
Yeah.
while. I've
But
known,
also, the one point that your dad made, I just want to expound on is that look, there's no manual for this caregiving. There's no path. There's nobody that can tell you exactly how to do it. There's no book. Okay. There's no instructions. Every situation is different. Now, there's some commonalities that we can discuss and have discussed here, but every situation is unique. And I wish there was a manual, but it's not. Everybody's manual at the end of the day is what you subscribe in your daily accounts and experiences. So don't feel bad about that. No, nobody can tell you better how to take care of your sister when she's with you than you. Austen can. And same with Reg. Nobody can tell him how to take better care of Artesia when she's with him than him because he's been there. So hands-on are a lot different than people that got a lot of opinions.
and at
oh
the
yeah.
same time, it's just hard.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes you don't get a break. Sometimes it's just hard. And
And that's why your dad and I started this caregivers network to
Mm-hmm.
express just, how rewarding it is because you see the end result with your loved one, but also sometimes, you just need to chat with other people that are doing what you're doing. They want to chat with you. So that's the purpose of our podcast.
Oh,
Yeah.
and I think it's a great thing because, like, to that point, like, I think, like a lot of my generation, your generation, there's this mentality of like you're not supposed to stop working. You're always supposed to be on, and I think that leads to burnout. And it took me a while because like I don't think I hadn't gone on vacation uh, up until like a few years ago. And I've had some form of job working, whether it be through school or the side weekends, since I was in high school. And the only reason why I didn't really have a real job in high school is because nothing was within walking distance. But like I
Mhm.
always worked, I always grind, and I'm like, oh, I can't take off. Mainly because I can't afford it, even though I'm like, my vacation is just not working for a day.
Mhm.
Uh, and getting to the point where you can accept that, like, hey, you can turn your phone off. You can step away for a second was, I would say, a big hurdle for me.
Mhm.
Granted, I had to get to a spot where I felt comfortable doing that. Because just because I take the day off don't mean bills stop. You know.
Well, the other thing is this, and I tell people this all the time. Even at your job, when you're dead and gone, your inbox will still be full. So they're going to get the work done with or without you. So it's just healthy to uh, take care of yourself.
Oh yeah. Like I've done worked on that with Javen's help. Because like with my last job, I liked it. I liked what I did, but I was getting more and more work, and
Mhm.
I wasn't home. I've learned this year with me being home Monday through Friday instead of just being home on Saturday and Sunday. Um, I've missed so much making connections with my friends, trying to build a family and have my own life. And I've learned that, like, you know what, I needed to take a step away. And thankfully, I found a job that, as it currently says, don't require overtime. Um, so I only work my 40s. It's hybrid. So I go in the office Tuesday through Thursday. And thankfully, I make more money now hitting 40 hours than I ever did with overtime, weekends, bonuses, and per diem.
That's
I think
good.
that's a big part of it.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
because that's the hardest part, I would say. Like growing up, I asked dad like why we had to leave Chicago. Uh, because I was like, why can't you? I remember distinctly, I was like, well, go be a firefighter or something. Why you gotta follow the company? As an adult, I understand why he had to. It was a good company. It paid the bills. It had good insurance. And I saw that with my last job. One of my good friends, he just got out of Marines, um, and his fourth child was being born, and this would be the first time he would actually be home to be there for that. You know, but they were sending him everywhere but home. And he explained like, hey, look, I know we have all this work in the area. I can do stuff with him, but around this time period, can I do the maintenance stuff so I can be there? And they were sending him everywhere but Texas, and he's like, now he has a much better
Well,
work
so,
life.
so you hit a very, very salient point. It's family.
Mm-hmm.
And you have family, you have a family obligation because it's not just you. So that always lends itself to at least let me think about this a little bit differently. It's not me anymore. I have family and other responsibilities. So
Mm-hmm.
for Reggie and I, in addition to all of that, we have caregiving responsibilities. And I'm glad we got a chance to speak with you because, one day you may be in our same situation. You never know. You never know.
Yep.
So Reggie, I think you're muted.
Yeah, you muted, pops.
There you
Yeah, I
go.
forgot to unmute. I got a question for you, Austin.
What's
What
up?
would you say to somebody else like you in this situation or going through this situation, having to care for a sibling?
Because I've seen this online where discourse and stuff like that, and I think, especially if it's a sibling, I think how it can work really depends on the parents. Because for me, it felt like a family duty. It felt like obligation. But I also always knew the rhyme or reason, you know, versus I've seen discourse online where topics like, I don't want to look after my sibling 24/7, and the parents try to guilt trip them into this and stuff. And it feels more like the parents are using the child as the babysitter, as a like, oh, we want free time, you watch the child, versus I the free time that y'all were at work. It wasn't like y'all were always going out, or and I understand there were times where I was frustrated. I wanted to go out with my friends, but y'all weren't going to be there that night, so I couldn't go, and I was upset by that because I couldn't go hang out with my friends, uh, because didn't have a car, so I was very limited. They were going to come pick me up, but I think how it's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be angry um, about the situation. That's gonna be a part of it. I used to tell people all the time, I was like, "Oh, she must be great all the time." I was like, it ain't sunshine and rainbows. It's all cute and dandy at school, but she don't wake you up at 6 a.m. on Saturday telling you about the car accident. You know, um, it's it's gonna be challenging, and there are gonna be times where it's frustrating. But there are plenty of times uh, that it's been good. And it's fun. Our teacher is a fun person. When you get stuff to align, she'll she'll crack a joke with you. She she likes to have fun and go out and hang out with people. She likes to tease people. I know Dad hates it to this day. I started the punch buggy in the car. She still ain't giving that up. She likes to give you licks for your birthday. Like anytime she calls me randomly, I'll put her on speaker with Javen, and she's like, I just called to tell you, I'm bored. When you coming home? All right, I'm done with you. Bye." And Javen laughs at that all the time. She's like, she just
Man,
called to tell
those
you
are the fun moments, I tell you. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, when they were growing up and we were going someplace, there's only one, since I was driving, there was only one front seat. So they used to fight over the front seat. So I made it a rule. The first person to say that I got the front seat was the one who got the front seat.
Right.
And
Mhm.
the challenges that they had, they were competitive about saying when we were going someplace, I got the front seat. What was it called? Shotgun. I got shotgun.
Shotgun.
What it was
I'm
called.
riding shotgun. Yeah, yeah.
She would call shotgun, and we ain't leaving for another hour.
Hey, out of the minds of babes, you know what I mean? I know we going somewhere, so I'm calling a shotgun right now.
and then And then she would do it. Dad's gonna drive. Mom's coming with us, so mom gets shotgun out of the bank. She'll call shotgun and then run to the front seat anyway.
She would do that on Candace.
hmm she don't care. She
I hear
don't
you.
care.
I hear you.
She calls shotgun. you know. And then every now and then, mom would let her do that. But it became a game. There's ways to have fun. It's not always sunshine and rainbows, but there's good times. And like I say this now, like I got my strength from Dad. I got my loving and caringness from Mom, and I learned a lot of grace and patience, and how to just enjoy simple things from her teacher. She'll sit there and rewatch that same damn Disney movie.
Hey, well, look, I have no problem with that because I watch The Godfather over and over and over. So I mean,
Yep.
every time I watch it, I see something different. So that's not unusual at all.
She's tickled pink by it. Um, and she's thoughtful in her own way.
Yeah.
She is very thoughtful in her own way. Uh, and the struggle, I see her struggle because she can't process uh, these things like we understand them, and that part took some growing to grace. Because I would say the hardest part, like after losing mom, um, I knew there was going to be like a calm before a storm when I came home because Achija wasn't upset. And it felt like, at least for me, maybe you had a different perspective, but like it felt like her teacher was taking a second. She didn't understand mom was gone now, or she knew,
Mhm.
but like it wasn't gonna set. I don't think she cried that day. Um,
Oh,
She just processed it different.
yeah, and but then it slowly started coming in, and even now, uh, like when I'm home, she's like, I miss mom. But she also doesn't want to go to the graveyard sometimes because I'm sure for her, she doesn't know how to process that.
Hmm.
You know, like
Yeah.
well, anytime I come home to Memphis, I make a point to stop by the cemetery, buy some flowers, and
Oh yeah.
I sit down and
yeah.
chat with mom. You know,
Yeah. 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 That's common.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
even to this day, our teacher says that she wants to be with mom, you know. Um, and she would wake up in the middle of the night, and this is shortly after Candace passed, crying uncontrollably. One of the saddest things and the hardest things for me is that, she would say she missed mom at that time, and I didn't know what to do or what to say.
Hmm.
And then one friend at the time gave me a perfect response. She said, when she does that, take her to a mirror and show her. When you smile, that's your mom's smile. And our
Ah,
teacher would
that's a
say
good
to this
idea.
day, she's got mom's smile. And that made things so much easier for
Oh
me
wow.
and happier,
Yeah.
for me.
See, those are the little things, Reggie, that are shared on this caregiving network that you would never think. That's just something simple. That might work for me. I mean, I
Yeah.
go just see and I see my mom smile when I'm looking at that. Thanks. I got something out of that myself.
So
Wow.
yeah, so it was really good. It's got its challenges, but like Austin said, you get so much grace at times. A long time ago, somebody said that special children are given to special people. I don't know how true that is, but I know our teachers give me a lot of smiles in my life, for lack of a lot of joy. It's probably a better way of putting it.
Hmm.
I can point to certain things that happened just because she smiled, made things a lot easier. When I had a really bad day at work when she was a toddler, not even a toddler, she was less than 6 months old, and I came home and walked through the door, and she looked up from the floor and just smiled.
Yeah.
All that pain from the job went away. It didn't matter
Yep.
anymore. And it's a lot of things like that just because she's been in our lives. Yes, it has been challenging, but it has been very rewarding at times too,
Mm.
you know. So I'm glad that Austin has come to the realization that it's hard, but it's also been wonderful in certain aspects. That a teacher is probably one of the happiest people in the world, and she
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
others happy. And that's her blessing, I think. Um, but it's just a little bit more difficult because she has a few challenges that most of us don't have.
Hmm.
But we work with
Yeah.
that. But we're also blessed because, she's mobile, she's vocal, you know, she doesn't have any
talking
physical
here off.
limitations. It's just that her mind doesn't work the way ours does, and she
Well, yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
do things, So we're working on making sure she does everything that she's supposed to do without being prompted or reminded to do so. And that's the
Hmm.
hard part, right? So,
Mhm.
all
Well,
right.
good.
She'll hold a conversation. She'll talk your ear off, even when you don't want her to.
Yeah,
She
she's gonna
always
ask the
wants to be
same
alone.
questions 20 times.
She always wants to be alone until you want to chill out. Then she wants to be with you. You're never alone with her teacher.
Stop talking about my cousin like that. She's not here to help defend
Yeah.
herself.
It's like,
So,
Yeah.
many dozen names, Bopper, Job Turkey. She always had fun with at family events. She's always been great
I
uh,
hear you.
in that regard. Like,
and now that you mention that, man, I think that's part of why she is so pleasant because everyone in the family is always being very nice to her and special to her and making
Yeah.
her feel
mhm.
inclusive. So
Yeah.
she'll talk about, James Michael. her cousin always calling her Bopper,
Mhm.
or always referring to Jive Turkey, which Miles will call her.
Yeah.
So it is, it was a blessing. We were blessed with a good family,
Yeah. Yeah. No
you
doubt
know.
about that.
So, all right. Austin, you have any other questions? Anything else you'd like to say?
Oh, sorry. That was teams for work. Manager just had his first child, his first daughter.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
okay.
So, now I gotta think of like it's been very well discussed topic because like it's frustrating. It's hard, but it's worth it. And I think also the biggest important is like especially with uh our family, both sides of the family. Uh they've been also very protective of Artesia, and not everyone is like that. I'm sure you guys dealt with the challenges of the terrifying things. Like I know how to raise a health or look after a healthy baby, but looking after a cheetah comes with its own challenges. But it's like if you can do one, you can learn the other if you really care. And
Mhm.
I would say our family has stepped up to that challenge. Our friends and neighbors have stepped up to learning because growing up, I guess I felt very abnormal in the sense that like didn't know a whole lot of families in the immediate vicinity that had someone that was uh, special needs. I think it was to college. My roommate, one of his siblings was like that, and even then, that was like his like fifth sibling,
Mhm.
versus Artesia was the first, and I was the second, you know. So in that regard, I can see, but like I think as if you can build a community around this, and people, I think people are always willing to help, and they do care. And if you have that kind of support, it makes it infinitely easier. Uh,
Mhm.
in that, you don't have to do this alone.
Yeah.
That is the key thing.
That's right.
There's always help out there, and people are willing to talk about this. So.
Yeah, I really think that's, one of God's grace. Yeah, you're not in this by yourself. You
Yeah. That's our
I,
mantra. We with you. Yeah.
I was like, I don't know how you would be able to do this by yourself. That's why after mom passed, I was more than willing to come back home. Um, but you knew me coming home to Memphis would stunt my growth, and I don't think I would be here where I am right now if I was still in Memphis. I made it a lot farther because of that burden. But then also, I understand to me, everything I'm trying to do is also to make sure that uh, when you pass that a teacher will always be taken care of.
That's
You
right.
know
Well,
what?
that's the goal, but I hope you don't have to deal with it for a long, long time.
Long, hey, listen, a long time.
No, I'm still shoot. I gotta look. I gotta show off me being rich. All right, you can't go nowhere. I remember when Artie, you told me like, why be a millionaire when you can be a multimillionaire? When I was going through college, and you know what? I'm on track. I'm working on it.
Hey,
Doing my best.
don't forget me.
Nah. You like the finer things in life, so you'll be fine. You'll be
Yeah.
fine. You'll like Javen. You two would two peas in the pod. Oh, the reason why we get in a boat to the wedding is
So
because of her. All right,
you know
but I
what?
also
That brings up something. Maybe we might need to have an addition with Javen. Outside person coming into a situation like that. What's her
Yes.
perspective? You know?
That might be a good one to have with you and him on the call. That might be maybe a good conversation.
Yeah, we'll
yeah,
have to look into
I'll let her
that.
know.
You have to check that
Yeah.
out. All
Yeah,
right.
because
Well,
I will say this. Sure because after mom passed and with you with Francis that I will say on that aspect with Artesia being knowing that burden that was also always a terrifying part of dating of putting that burden on somebody. You know,
Mhm.
um, I accepted that. You know, but to ask someone to come in and do that part was terrifying because I could never fault you for saying this is too much because I did have that conversation with David. It was like, look,
Yeah.
I've made peace with this. This is going to be my life. You don't have to agree to it. I will never blame you. if this is the reason why we couldn't work out.
And
And
we both agree that you have to have a special person
mm,
that understands that you come as a package, both you and your dad's relationship. I'm not in this by myself. I have, I got a package, and you got to accept us both, so that can be challenging in and of itself. But it seems like, both of you guys have maybe crossed that bridge and got somebody that's working with you profoundly.
Yeah,
So
well,
that's good.
I don't know about Austin, but I realize that it is difficult to ask someone
Hmm.
to take on that, and I don't want to say burden, but to take on that challenge too. But if they accept that challenge, then that is a special person, you
Yeah,
know.
I don't think it. I wouldn't put it in the challenge. It might be challenging for the three of us on this call, but the spouse or the significant other, it's additional responsibility. I'll take the challenge. I just need you to assist with the responsibility. So uh, that would be
yeah,
my delineation between. It's a responsibility that they're going to have to accept as part of us. I'm a caregiver, so
Right, right. And
oh, yeah,
we've all gone through it. And you went through it with your mom too, and Francis,
yeah,
your
yeah,
Francis. So
yeah.
we all understand that.
yeah.
Okay.
And there was definitely that conversation because, like, especially with us wanting to have kids one day, the idea
Oh.
of like having to watch a teacher while having a baby feels very impossible, I would say. Especially because the difference for you and mom is Artesia was a baby versus she's a full size adult now, which she isn't the strongest, but she's big, and dealing with a baby and Artesia at the same time was a conversation we had to have too. Because that, like, I would say, like, for me, David's never seen it, but we've seen her. She's very gentle with babies. She's almost terrified of them.
Hmm.
But that doesn't change the fact that if Artesia's upset, she's gonna scream
Okay.
at some point, or she'll get mad and she'll get frustrated. And these are conversations we
Yeah.
had to have because how will we go about navigating this? But on the other side, she's wants to do this. She wants to try. Um, recognize all the concerns that come with this. And the goal is to be set up and be ready whenever
Yeah.
that day arrives for Artesia. So,
Yeah. All right.
All right, gentlemen. I think that's pretty much it.
all right.
And for everyone, this is it. This is another episode or an edition of Caregivers Network. If you like what you hear, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an edition. If there is a topic you'd like for us to explore in the future, please add that to your comments. You can also check us out at cgn1, the number one, .org and leave a request, a question, or comment. Thank you for joining the Caregivers Network.
And remember to shoot for the moon. And even if you miss, you'll still be among your stars. Take care.
Take care, everybody. Until next
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Goodbye.